Hi, Mr. Manning.
Hello.
Well, your book is about the changing of the relationship company-customer in the last years. Why did you want to write a book about it, and why right now?
Well, I started the customer experience practice at Forrester back in 1998. And so we've been doing research into this area for, 14 years now. And what's happened in the last 5 years is that we've seen a major increase in the number of big companies and small companies who are interested in customer experience as a way of competing in the marketplace. So we just felt the time was perfect for it.
Okay. The relationship between company and customers changed, yes, as you said. And we don't have a business-to-business anymore, but a business-to-consumer instead. Why do you think this happened right now and not before? And is it due to the global crisis, or is it just an evolution of the market?
Yeah. So actually a lot of macroeconomic things have happened. It used to be that companies could have a competitive advantage based on controlling manufacturing. So we saw that in the early 1900s with companies like Ford, for example. Then the competitive advantage came from controlling distribution networks. Well, what's happened since the information age came about is now small businesses, big businesses, consumers all have access to this global marketplace where manufacturing and distribution can happen any part of the world. And what this means is that the competitive situation has gotten more intense, more so than it's ever been. So now companies are wondering, how do I manage to get an advantage in a marketplace where someone can copy what I'm doing like that and probably offer a lower price for it? And so what's happened is that many of them have concluded that they have to have a better understanding of their customers and then deliver a meaningful experience to those customers, and that way they can lock them in and maintain loyalty over time.
Okay. And 6 disciplines for success: strategy, knowledge of the customer, project, measure, governance, culture. What can you tell us about it? And do you think everything can be analyzed, or you think that there can be a little place for the simple luck?
Well, some companies have delivered a superior customer experience because they focused on one or two things that happen to be very important. For example, some companies just have a very customer-centric culture, and so they tend to make good decisions for their customers naturally. However, it's come time to turn customer experience from an art into more of a science, which means adding more discipline to it. And so that's why we've looked at the very specific things that companies that are successful at customer experience do so that they deliver a great experience, not by luck, but consistently day after day after day. And that's what led us to those 6 disciplines you described.
About the governance, I found very curious the mail brought by legal employee Tim Atwood. As Italian, I found it very American style, and I loved it. More you are kind to the customer, and more you have chances to do a good job. So what's your point of view?
Lego is a fascinating company. As you know, their original business model was successful, and then it wasn't. So they were in quite a bit of trouble. And so they refocused their entire company around a totally different way of doing business, different product set, different way of relating to their customers. And so that starts with their products, but it goes all the way down into those Lego stores. And so where governance comes in there is that they don't sort of randomly have someone send you a note saying thank you. They make sure that if you send them a note and say, hey, I had a great experience or I had a not so great experience, their store managers are required to respond to that note. And so this is what I mean by not having to trust to luck. Every single time they get one of these emails, they're required to respond. And that creates this very sticky connection.
In the part about culture, you write about the tension of U.S. Cellular for Carlos' decision to cut his hair, and this led me think that maybe the evolution of doing business, this changing, is not just about the way the companies consider the customer, but maybe it's also about the way the companies consider their employees, because if a company treats well its own employees, then there are more chances that the customers will be satisfied. So, did I understand your point of view?
You absolutely did.
Okay.
That is absolutely correct. So, When your customer touches you in any way, whether they touch one of your, if you're a retailer, when they touch one of your retail employees, or they touch your website, or they call your call center, whether they're touching a human being or they're touching a system, there is a human behind that system. So there's a complex set of relationships between the customer, all your systems, all your employees, and we call that the customer experience ecosystem. And that ecosystem totally depends on you having employees and partners who know what they need to do to create a great experience and have the training to go do it, and then have a reward system that rewards them when they deliver a great experience and doesn't reward them when they don't. And what's interesting is that we've seen the companies that have the most customer-centric culture. That is the single most important competitive advantage you can get. You see that at companies like Emirates Airlines, you see that at Ritz-Carlton, you see that certainly the culture at Virgin. Not every Virgin company is delivering a great experience, but they all aspire to do that, and they're all working hard to do that. So this is the amazing thing that having that kind of relationship with your employees gives you.
You're right, the customer experience is not a journey, it's a project. And I totally agree. You think this is the main thing a company should remember every single day to get success?
Yeah, so the customer experience is one of these things that you do every single day. And it's not, for instance, let's take another business process, marketing. Well, you don't say, okay, we marketed today, we can stop. And then a week later think, well, maybe we should market again. No, you have a marketing department, and they have a schedule for doing different kinds of outreach to customers and for different promotional things. Customer experience needs to be on that same level. You need to have a strategy for customer experience, and then you need to have various things that you do to deliver on that strategy. And you need to have the governance piece to make sure you do it every single day. That's what's really important, is having customer experience as a way of doing business, not just as something that you think is nice.
One of my favorite things in this book is how you describe the situation of many different companies and giving easy examples to the readers. And this, giving these simple examples to readers maybe allow you to get more easily the reader's attention. You tell us about FedEx, Ford, Virgin Media, US Cellular, Deutsche Telekom. You chose to do so because it seemed the easiest way to involve as much readers as you can.
Yeah, that's true. I find the business books that I like to read are the ones that tell stories about people doing things. Because this book will be read by, and is being read by, people who then want to know, how should I go and make a change in my company? What should I personally do? And so by bringing different customer experience champions to life at all different levels, whether it's the CEO of Sprint, Dan Hesse, or the president of Office Depot North America, Kevin Peters, or people at lower levels like Carlos you referred to, who's a call center operator. These are all people who have very interesting stories where they did something that created a great customer experience. And some of the stories are funny, some of the stories are sad, because, so for instance, Jim Merlino at Cleveland Clinic, who's the chief experience officer and also a surgeon, he had some tragedy in his life that made him realize that patient experience was critically important, not just being a good doctor. But all of these people are people who we felt very privileged to get to know and to try and bring some of their stories to our readers.
We live in a digital era, and it's clear that the social media changed everything, I'd say, around the world. So my question is, a company can't do business without social media anymore if it wants to maintain its slice of market. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah. It's now how you do social media can vary quite a bit by company depending upon what different touch points your customers use. For example, some people have customers who like to spend a lot of time on Facebook. Some companies have customers who don't care about Facebook, but maybe you can find them in LinkedIn. Some people read blogs. And so the most important thing is what we get at in our customer understanding discipline. You have to not just think you know your customers, you have to really know your customers. Otherwise, you can make very bad assumptions about what they do and what they don't do. But the other thing that's important about social media and why you need to know what social media your customers are using is not just so that you can reach them, but also because you have to really understand how much damage that they can do to your brand if you don't treat them well. It used to be that if someone had a bad experience, they would tell 10 people. Now if someone tweets, it might go viral and they might tell thousands and thousands of people. And that could have a serious impact just from one bad experience. And conversely, someone has a great experience and puts that on LinkedIn or puts that on Twitter or whatever, that can go viral too.
One last question. We live in a very difficult moment. What do you suggest to young people who would like to start a business?
Well, I would say that right now you have more opportunities in some ways than ever because there's no longer a huge advantage that a big company has in terms of manufacturing, in terms of distribution, even really in terms of marketing, because you can tap into all those global sources of product and services and you can easily check competitive pricing. So you have a lot of advantages, even in your IT infrastructure. You're going to need technology to support your business. There's so many companies now that have cloud-based services where you can just rent what you need. You don't need a lot of capital to get started. So you can start a business that looks like a gigantic successful business more easily now than ever. It's still not easy, but it's very possible where it wasn't before. So I'd say with that as a base, I certainly think that whatever you do, and it may focus on something other than customer experience, but whatever you do, at the very least you have to pay attention to customer experience. Because whatever you sell, if you provide goods or services in return for money, then you have customers.